Good afternoon, dear Stitchers. It's Judy Whitman with JBW Designs, and I want to welcome you back to my Flosstube channel. This is video number 54, and this is going to be kind of a different one than I usually do because I am aiming, this video today at two audiences. One is my shop owners who are going to be coming to Nashville in a couple of weeks for our wholesale market. But then I also want to let my faithful viewers know what is new so that you have time to contact your local needlework shop and let them know what you'd like them to order before they get to market. This really helps the shop owners. It helps them to know how many to buy, what the level of interest is. So your contacting them is very important. So let's see, because this is a shorter video, I'm not going to concentrate as much on the kinds of things I talk about in my longer videos. If I have time, I will record a second video and I will go into more detail about each of the new releases and what the inspiration was for each one. So I have 6 new releases for Nashville, and I'm going to start actually with probably the most complicated one because I am releasing a booklet. It's actually a full-size booklet, an 8.5 by 11, that I'm calling American Marking Samplers. And this includes 6 samplers that are in my collection, and each one is so unique. They date from, let's see, I'm trying to remember the dates. I think the earliest one is 1787 and the latest one is 1882. And in some cases, I'm going to kind of quickly show you what the original sampler looked like, and then if I did reproduce it, and I didn't do them with all of them, what the reproduction looked like. So I hope you'll bear with me, and as I say, I'll try to be very efficient today, right? So the first sampler that I want to show you that is in this American Sampler Marking booklet is actually the oldest one. And it's amazing because it was stitched in 1787, as I said. It's going to be very hard for you to see. It was stitched by a young girl named Jane Forbes. She was from Massachusetts, and she had the most unique, so I'm going to show you the original piece, and then I'm going to set it down because this one is a little easier to watch and to read. What I love about this sampler is the most unique spellings that she has included in this piece, because she talks about, she was born July 21st, 1787, and she has a very unique, as I say, quote in here, which I've seen before, but it was the spellings that I thought were quite enchanting. So bear with me. It's when I am dead and in my grave, and grave is spelled G-R-V-E, and all my bones are rotten, and rotten is spelled W-R-O-T-T-E-N. When this you see, remember me, that I may not be forgotten. And what I want to do is remember Jane because she had a beautiful sampler. The colors in the sampler I matched from the back of the piece, and they were just lovely because they were shades of aqua and then a salmon color. So that's the first sampler in the American Sampler collection. The second one is also a very old one, and excuse me if I'm making noise here. And I bought this sampler. It's like a house of cards back here. We don't want anything to fall over. I bought this sampler, there's going to be some glare on it, quite a few years ago from an antique dealer that I deal with who lives here in town. And this particular one was stitched by Mary Wilson. She was age 20 when she stitched it. One of the beautiful things about this is the unique colors that she used and how she did her lettering. So I'll just show you that. That's the original sampler. And then I did restitch that. And let's see, what else did I want to tell you about? She was born in Connecticut, actually. So I found a similar sampler to this in the Stephen and Carol Huber sampler book. So I thought this one was quite a unique one. The third sampler in my list here, let me reach back. I love some of these little girls' names. This particular one, Lucinda Haywood, Hayward, was stitched in 1835, and she was from Massachusetts. One of the unique things about her sampler is that she actually used an ampersand symbol in it, and that is something that I don't have in any of my other samplers. She did all of her piece in cross stitch. I'm going to have to fold this just so that I can show you down here, except for this row of stitches right here, which were eyelet stitches. And if that's not something you are comfortable doing, of course, you could always do cross stitch. The back is quite interesting, of course. She has a lot of threads going from letter to letter, but it actually is such a charming sampler. I just absolutely loved it. She was only 9 years old when she stitched this sampler. So I did a reproduction of that piece. Sorry about that. And this is what Lucinda's sampler looks like. So moving right along, try to get that out of the way. I did another sampler that's called Red Alphabets, and let me grab this one. This actually was never completed. And we know the date on it because the little girl did sign 1850, but she did not put her name on this one. So we don't know the location of it, although it was purchased here in the U.S. I'm guessing that it was probably Pennsylvania. It's a very simple sampler, but I loved one element of this, and that is she did a little zigzag stitch right along here. And then the fourth sampler in the series is quite unique, and I purchased this quite a while ago, and it's taken me quite a long time to reproduce it. This was actually a sampler worked by Gracie Alvinia Erickson, and she stitched it on perforated paper. This has glass on it, so there's probably a little glare. The interesting thing is when I purchased it, several of the pieces had been cut out of the sampler. And you know, we know from the past that sometimes the girls cut out the date they stitched it because they did not want people to know the date they were born. Alvinia had a very, let me set this down, interesting life. Because I discovered that she went to college. And this was stitched, she was born in 1882. She went to Northwestern, and she was one of only 8 girls to graduate from Northwestern in 1904. But the thing that I loved about this piece is the message that she had on the bottom. And she said, "May you live to see your great-grandchildren." And I just thought that was such an unusual message in a sampler. So that's the 5th of the 6 samplers. And then the 7th one, I'm going to just point to you because it's very hard to get down. This is the Mary Ann Yunt sampler. It was done in the mid-1800s in Pennsylvania. What I loved about this sampler is that she has some very Pennsylvania German stars down here at the base of her sampler. So those 6 samplers are going to be in one full-size booklet. And each page you will get not only a history of the sampler and a description, but you will also have a full page chart of each of the 6 samplers. So let's keep moving on. The next one that I want to share with you is one, again, that was based on an antique sampler that I bought last summer from a dealer here in Kalamazoo, although he actually had come to the antique show from New York. And when you see this, you're going to probably wonder, what did Judy see in this? This was the original. I loved these birds and the leaves. So this is called Eliza's French Birds. And it's very dear. It's stitched on a 36 count fabric. I just thought it was such a beautiful, graceful design. Her name was Eliza Coulter. She was age 17 when she stitched her sampler. It was done on canvas in wool. And so that is another one of the new designs. It's fairly small. I stitched this on an R&R 36 count espresso. So also in this sampler, there were other motifs in this sampler. Incidentally, I try to keep this in some kind of a covering because I took it out of the frame and it still has a very kind of strange smell to it. But there were several motifs that I loved in here. So I took out 3 different motifs that were in this original sampler around the perimeter of the bird design. And I made those into a set of smalls. So this booklet is going to be called Eliza's Sewing Smalls. And it really turned out so sweet. Here is the little scissor case, and it's finished as a square with just a diagonal pocket on it to put your little scissors in. My finisher also stitched one of the little designs as a scissor fob. And then the third design in this booklet is just a darling little pin keep. And I want you to notice, I'm going to turn this a little bit, these are pins that were specially created by Teresa with Jersey Girl Stitch Company. And she called them, I'm going to pull this in closer, Elizabethan Rose. And I will have a collection of pins to go with this design at market. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough. We can always order more. But Teresa created these just gorgeous pins for this piece. And I love how that turned out. So moving right along, my next design that I want to show you, I hope I'm not going too quickly or too slowly, is a piece that I called A Joyful Purpose. And it took me a while to name this piece. And you know, a lot of my designs are taken from antique samplers, motifs, borders, alphabets, etc. This particular phrase in this sampler just kind of caught my attention. I really liked it. And it reads, "Joy and work for labors all, make the work and effort small." And I thought that is so kind of indicative of the work that we do. It takes a lot of work and labor to finish our cross-stitch designs, but it's so worthwhile in the end. And so I asked my viewers in one of my last videos to help me name this piece, and I'll tell you what, I could have had 20 different names that would have worked, but somehow A Joyful Purpose struck home with me, and I thought that was a good name. So this is worked also on a 36 count Winter Moon from Zweigart. It is worked in, I don't know if you can tell, but there are actually 2 shades of raspberry in here. I'll have to look it up. I think they're both Classic Colorworks colors in this one. So again, it's made up of all kinds of antique motifs that I found in my collection of books. The next design that I want to show you is one that is part of a series that has been going on for probably 6 or 8 years at least, and it's called the Seaside Series. And this booklet is going to be this is hard to say, Seaside Series 8. And in this booklet, I featured several new seaside designs. So we have an egret and we have a seal. And let me tell you about the seal first. This is worked on a fabric, I'm going to pull that closer so you can see, that's called Splash, and it's by Zweigart, and I love this fabric. It's a very, very pale pink, but it has like little white dots, almost like under the sea bubbles on the background of it. This trim on this, I have to look it up again to make sure I have the right company. Yes, the trim on this is called Watermelon Juice, and it's from Dames of the Needle. And this has just been finished with a fabric that I had in my stash. It's just a little hanging piece. And of course, you know I love to stitch designs. Incidentally, this one has been stitched over 2, and you know I also love to stitch them over 1. So here is the same little seal stitched over 1. It's been mounted as an easel, and it just has a twisted cording on the edges. When I do the designs over 1, I do them on 28 count with 1 strand of floss, and they're not as hard as you would think to stitch. So the second design is the egret, and this is stitched on an antique green that was from Zweigart. The trim is called Ocala Blue, and it is from Lady Dot Creates. This too was finished as an easel finish. I love the finish on that. And then I also stitched it over one, and it's just finished as a solid disc. The colors that I used in these two, I have to look at to remember. Let's see. The over two was stitched in Deep Fennel, which is a classic Colorworks color, and this was Tartan Plaid. And I just thought that went with the seaside theme. So we have one more to go. And let's see, where did I put it? Here it is, right in front of me. So the last one in my releases is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. I've had several shops say to me, would you do a stitching in the round? And I really loved that idea. And once I started charting all the elements for this, I tell you what, I'm going to set this down because I want to just show the lid of it. I had so much fun making a list of all the things that I thought could go into a stitching in the round. And as you know, I have many round designs, and they're just fun to do. So this one has a sewing bird in it right here, thimbles, spools of thread, all kinds of scissors, little tomatoes, a pair of eyeglasses because we do need our glasses to stitch, a book, threads, needles, ABC and 1, 2, 3. Here's some little strands or skeins of floss, hearts, X's because we love what we do. And then I also had a number of buttons in here. And I decided kind of on a whim before I mounted this to take some real tiny little buttons and just sew them right over the round symbols that were on the chart. I thought that added a little bit to it. This has been finished in a wooden box from Hobby Lobby, which I've used before. The box is a plain, just wood color. I just spray paint them whatever color I think they would look good. I put a little lining in the base of the box, and then on the inside of the box I always take one of the elements that's from the original design and stitch it and mount it for a little surprise on the inside of the box. So this has been worked on a 32 count over 2. It was worked in Cherry Tomato from Classic Colorworks, and of course I had to do an over 1. And it's so sweet, over 1. Look at that. And I came up with this idea today that I thought, I think people will love this idea. Why not stitch this in red and make it an ornament for your stitching friends? Wouldn't that be just so sweet? So I found a beautiful French general fabric for the back of this piece. And I love how that one turned out. That was really quite fun. So I have one other quick thing to tell you about. I am going to have a limited edition kit at the Nashville market, but I am not releasing pictures of it ahead of time. I can tell you that I think it turned out beautifully. I had a professional finisher who I can tell you about in another video do the finishing for me. It uses several a velvet and a rickrack and trims from Lady Dot Creates, some beautiful fabrics. The reason that I am not releasing the picture of it ahead of time is that last year when I did that, here's the good and bad of releasing ahead of time. I had so many shops pre-order that kit that I had barely enough to bring to market. And the whole point of going to market is that the shops who attend there have the opportunity to buy this exclusive kit when they're at market. So I'm not pre-selling any of these. I am going to wait until the shops come into my room to see if they like the kit, and then they can order. If I run out, I will make more. And then the shops who are not able to attend market can order it 30 days after the show ends. So I say it's an exclusive, but it is going to continue to be produced. So, take a chance. Hopefully you'll like it. If not, that's okay too. So I think that's all I want to say today. The last thing I want to say is I cannot wait to see my shop owners in Franklin in 2 weeks. You are always so much fun to visit with if we have time, and I look forward to seeing you once again. So thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.